Welcome to the video. In this video I'd like to take a look at this model here. This is the new HobbyKing Tuff Trainer 2. Now this is one of those planes that's really designed for a new pilot to get to grips with flying, and I must admit, even as a pilot with a couple of years under his belt, I'm still enjoying flying this thing around. It's very easy to put together. It comes in a very large cardboard box. If you pop the top off, then all the pieces are stuck down to the back of the cardboard box, very similar to a lot of the models from HobbyKing. So things like the Texumo and the Bonsai and other models that we've looked at arrive the same way. Taking all the pieces out gives you access to a bag of bits and also to the manual too. Now the manual looks like it's been written for a model that comes supplied with all of the pieces separately, but to put this thing together is very straightforward. There's only a handful of steps, so you can ignore a lot of the stuff in the manual. The only thing that is really interesting is the first page, which talks about the throws and also the centre of gravity. To actually put it together is very easy. I use some 5-minute epoxy rather than super glue, just because I prefer that. I like the way the epoxy sets up and still has a little bit of flexibility rather than the brittle nature of CA glue. So what you do is you pop the tail feathers on first. You get these little cards in the kit that allow you to make sure that the tail feathers are absolutely aligned properly, because there aren't any markings on the body itself. And then once that's set up, then you can glue the vertical stabilizer on with the rudder at the back, and then that's pretty much all the gluing you've got to do. The only other thing we had to do here was slide through the little carbon fiber tube with the ends on at the front of the model that hold the front of the elastic band that keeps the wing in place. The landing gear is held in place with a couple of screws. The screws are already installed at the bottom of the model, so if you can't find them in the kit, don't worry, just flip the model over and you can unscrew those and then screw them back in through the landing gear, and that's set up too. Once you've got that in place, then you're nearly ready. The wings go onto the top and have a nice angle to them, which helps with stability, and they're held in place with a couple of elastic bands, which is pretty common for this class of plane. Once you look inside, a couple of things that I will comment on. The construction on the model is pretty good. There was a couple of places though that I would say just be careful of. The main one was the 2 servos in the back of the body that control the rudder and the elevator. They're not really tightly installed. They do rock about a little bit. So if you have a couple of spare screws in one of your spare bins for the servos, I'd pop a couple of screws on each of these servos. They're mounted into balsa already, so I'm not sure why HobbyKing haven't done that, just to stop them rocking backwards and forwards. You're going to lose a little bit of control if you don't do that. The ailerons are connected with a Y cable that's included in the kit, so we only need a 4-channel receiver. And we have an entire video that talks about that, where we go through each of the steps of how you add a plane like this to a Taranis radio running OpenTX, and some of the best practice. I'll put a link here if you want to go and watch that, but putting it together is really straightforward. The prop balanced straight out of the box as well, which was rather nice. I wish they'd put an extra prop in here. The EPP foam that this thing is made of is very tough. I know they've shown in a couple of videos that HobbyKing has done, but for those of you that are used to using expanded polystyrene foam, the kind of stuff that you get around TVs and DVD recorders and things like that when you buy them, that kind of foam that just snaps when you bend it too far is not what this is. This is that kind of waxy foam that you sometimes get around electronic equipment when you buy it. It's very durable, quite lightweight, almost waxy to the touch, but I've had quite a few crashes with this, messing around with it. And whereas normally with the polystyrene foam, things like the Bixler and the Texumos are made out of would normally just disintegrate if they hit something too hard, this takes those knocks in its stride and doesn't even show where it struck whatever it hit. Flying it is very simple too. The centre of gravity is great for us. We're flying it here with one of these graphene batteries. This is the 1.0 graphene battery that is the 3S65C discharge. Doesn't need anywhere near 65C for this. It's only a 30 amp speed controller. But with this in the nose, the centre of gravity is pretty spot on, and with this battery we're easily getting 15-minute plus flight times. Takeoff is easy from reasonably flat ground. The wheels on it aren't massive, but hand launching with having the nice big prop at the front is easy too. In the air, it's nice to look at, and it's very easy to check which orientation you're in, because at the top you have the graphics and at the bottom you have big bold black stripes, so you can see whether you're looking at the top or the bottom, which for newer pilots is easy too. The only other thing I'd comment about the flight characteristics is in the manual it talks about 15mm throws being kind of normal and 20mm throws being for sport. Personally, I'd recommend that you go for 20mm throws. I found the 15mm were a little bit anemic, particularly if there was any wind at all. Although this isn't a very heavy model, it handles wind okay, but anything in my experience over kind of 10-12 miles an hour, it's going to get pushed around a lot, and with those smaller throws, you're going to get into trouble. The kind of power that's installed in the model is really good. I can easily pootle around at 25% throttle all day, but there's lots and lots of power in here if you want to do things like loops and rolls as well. This isn't an aerobatic plane, it's designed for a beginner, but once you've got it dialed in, it's very easy to do things like fly upside down, do loops, stall turns, those kind of things as well. So if you or somebody you know is looking to try out fixed wings and they don't have a lot of experience, the Tuff Trainer 2 is definitely worth having a look at. It's one that I'll keep in the boot of the car, particularly for those times when I'm out flying and somebody comes along and issues those immortal words, "Can I have a go?" This is the model that then I'll put the radio onto and let them have a crack at it, because this is a very tame, easy model to fly, inspires a lot of confidence, has more than enough power to get you out of trouble, and with the 20mm throws dialed in, then it also has more than enough power and maneuverability to do simple tricks and aerobatics too. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. There are lots of other videos on the channel and they're carefully ordered into playlists, so you may find that there are other videos on this same subject that you can go and watch. So I would recommend going into the playlist area of Painless 360 YouTube channel and looking around and seeing what there is. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and happy flying.